Okay, welcome back. Let's continue with our lectures on operators and user input. In the previous lecture, we looked at data types, ranges and assignment. We look at code blocks and block scope. We look at how to define multiple variables on the same line, and we look at the keyword val, when to use val and when to use var. Now we are going to continue to look at what they call type inference. And as usual, if you haven't subscribed to this channel, click on the subscribe button and the notification bell to get notification when new videos are posted. Okay. Now, the data type of a variable can be inferred by the compiler from the value or expression you assign to it. So here we can see that we say var x equals to 20. The compiler will infer and know that x is an integer because the value that has been assigned to the identifier x is an integer. The same way var y equals to 8 times 5 plus 2, the compiler can infer that y is an integer because that expression will result to an int value. When you look at var name equals to Fred, because the Fred is in quotation or is a string, the compiler will infer that name is a string. So that's what we call type inference. In some situations, you may decide not to include the data type, but because of the value that has been assigned to the variable, the compiler will infer and determine the data type based on the value that has been assigned to it. So in this second bulletin, you can see that we can use tuple for assignment. So you can have val into bracket a, b, and c equals to 22, 0.5, and Fred. So here the compiler will infer that a is equal to 22, so a is an integer. B equals to 0.5, which means b is a double. Then c, which will be assigned to Fred, meaning c is a string. Now, let's look at also what they call arithmetic operators. In programming, we have these basic arithmetic operators. We have the plus sign for add. We have the minus for subtraction. We have the star for multiplication. We have the front slash for division. And we have the percentage sign for modulus. Now, when you're looking at the precedence, multiplication, division, and modulus have precedence over plus and minus. So which means when you are doing a calculation or an expression, and for example 3 plus 4 times 2, the compiler will evaluate 4 times 2 before adding it to 3. So here you see 4 times 2, then it will add it to 3. Unless you use parentheses to enforce the order. So here we have 3 plus 4 into bracket times 2, which means we want 3 to be added to 4 before multiplying by 2. Without a bracket, 4 will be multiplied by 2, then adding it to 3. So if you want to force the order of operation, then you can use parentheses to force the order in which the expression is evaluated. So let's see how we can use arithmetic operators with numeric types. So this is a simple program. We have object arithmetic demo. We have our main method. We have defined three variables, num, x, and y, all assigned to 5. Then we say num is equal to 5 plus y. We can also have num equals to num divided by y. Num equals to y plus x. Then we say num is equal to num mod x. Then we can print our result. So pause this video and create this object and the code and run it. Let's see your result. If you have any issue with your code, you can post it in the comment so that we can look at it. This is a simple code that I want you to practice. Just create the object using the same name, define your main method, define your variables, and write those expressions and print, and let's see the value of n. Okay, I hope you're able to do it. Hold on with your answer. Let me also write my code and let's see my results so that I can compare and see whether I had it right or wrong. Okay, first of all, let me either comment this. Now let me create a different file. Let me just remove it. So now I'm creating a new file, scalar file new, scalar file, object, and I'll name it arithmetic demo. Then I need to create my main method. Then we need to define the variable. So var num, x, y as integer all equals to 5. Then we have num is equal to 5 plus y. Num is equal to num divided by y. The num is equal to num multiplied by now equals to y multiplied by x. Then the final one, num is equal to num mod x. So now we can now print line what is num. Then we concatenate it with our result. Okay. So let me see inside this, there's still some error somewhere. Okay, let me see. Okay, so let me go back to my demo. So now let's run our demo and see. So here says num is 0. I hope we had the same result because the final one we are looking at the modulus, which means the number we had here. Let's try to print num before the final. So as at this point, let's see now. Before we run the modulus, num was 25. So when you say 25 mod x, which means 25 mod 5, we had the remainder of 0. So you are supposed to have the remainder at 0. Okay. Okay, so now let's look at integer division. Integer variables as you know, can only hold whole numbers. Now, when you carry out integer division, both operands or the values you are expressing should be, if they are all integers, it will truncate the result, assuming we have some floating point. This means that it will remove anything after the decimal point. So for example, if we have 5 divided by 2, and 5 is stored into an integer, and 2 is also stored into an integer, the result will be 2, not 2.5. Unless one of the operands is a floating point. So in this example, if we store 5.0 into a float or a double, and we divide it by an integer, then we are going to have 2.5. Or if one is integer and the divisor is a float, we can still have a floating point, or if both are floating point. If not, it is going to truncate it and you're going to have a whole number. So that's something you need to understand. You can practice it and see. You can define a variable integer and a variable double and put the values inside. So what you are saying is that to get an integer or a whole number, both variables should be an integer. If one variable is float or double and the other is integer, you get a floating point. If both are floating point, you get a floating point. So you need to take note of that. Now, as you have already learned, we can use the plus sign to concatenate strings. We can also use the asterisk or the multiplication sign for concatenating number of times. So for example, here we have hello plus world, and we are going to have hello world. We have number is 5 plus 5, so it will concatenate 5 to 5, as we learned in the previous videos. Assuming we have 5 plus 5 plus number is, then it's going to add a 5 plus 5 to make it 10. But here we have number is plus into bracket 5 plus 5, so it will do this expression by adding it before adding it. So that's why you have number is 10. We also have 4 times 3, which means concatenate 4 3 times. That's why you see 4. Also, we can have ASCII value of a character. So here we say A minus 32, which means we are doing subtraction in ASCII. So first of all, to pick the ASCII integer of A, subtract 32 from 8, then convert it back to character to have your A. You can try all this in your IntelliJ to see how it works, or in the lab session also we are going to try all. But I just want to explain these principles and this method to you. We can also talk about assignment operators. We have plus equal sign, minus equal sign, which means here it will add the values before assigning, it will subtract before assignment, it will multiply before assigning, it will divide before assigning, it will perform the modulus. So these are shortcut reassignment operators that can be used with vars only, not val. So for example, when you say var x equals to 5, when you say x plus equal to 8, we mean x equals to x plus 8. So this is a short form. Instead of writing x equals to x plus 8, which means increase x by 8, we can use this shorthand expression. We also have x times equals to 3, which means x equals to x times 3. So now when you print x, what will be the result? You can try it and let's see the result. But you need to understand that this is the way of assigning values or increasing variables using the shortcut form. So this will increase x by 8. This will multiply x by 3 in that format. We also have what they call relational operators. In programming, there are 6 basic relational operators that can be used. The equality, this is not assignment, this is equality. So we compare, is the value at the left equal to the value at the right? This is not equal to. This is greater than. This is greater than or equal to. This is less than. This is less than or equal to. And all this, when you are comparing, it will result to a Boolean. So for example, we can say, is mark, the value in this variable, greater or equal to 40? Depending on what we have here, it will result to true or false. We ask, is the value in x equal to the value in y? So your result will either be true or false. Or we can ask, is z not equal to 0? So it will be true or false. So in programming, you are also going to evaluate expression to either true or false. We also have what they call logical operators. Also, there are 3 basic logical operators that can also be used as part of a Boolean expression. We have the AND operator, we have the OR operator, and you have the NOT operator. And I think in your fundamentals, computer fundamentals, you talk about the logic gate, the AND, the OR, and the NOT. Now we know that for AND, both expressions must be true. For OR, at least one expression must be true to result into true. And for the NOT, we negate the expression. So if it is true, it becomes false. If it is false, it becomes true. Logical AND or OR compare 2 Boolean expressions, while the NOT inverse a Boolean expression. So we can have mark is greater or equal to 40 and mark is less or equal to 100. So it means both expressions must be true. Here it says that x is equal to y or x equals to z, which means at least one of this expression must be true. Now here is going to evaluate whatever we have in the bracket. If it is true and it negates, it becomes false. If it is false and it negates, it becomes true. So these are some of the operators. You need to understand logical operators, relational operators, and assignment operators, and also arithmetic operators. So we'll end the video here since the video length is now almost 18. In the next lecture, we are going to talk about reading input from the keyboard. So far, we haven't accepted any data from the keyboard to manipulate. We assign the data statically in the code. So in the next lecture, we are going to learn how to accept input from the keyboard to manipulate it. So if you have enjoyed this video, as I said, subscribe to the channel, click on the subscription button or the subscribe button, and also click on the notification bell. See you in the next video. Bye-bye.